Earnestly podcast here. Old friend of the pod. It's been a couple years. Jordan Buscarini, sports radio host in Price, Utah. Drive Time Sports. What's up, buddy?
It's
The
great to be
legend.
here. It's great to be here.
I've
I've
known
never done
I've known
video
you,
with you.
dude. I've known you 10 years, and I've never done video before with you. It's
I know
crazy.
it's crazy. You've been on my show countless times. I've come on
hmm
your show, talked with you countless times. We've never done video ever.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
No.
We're kind of coming here on some somber, mood here with the passing of Lisa Marie Presley. You're wearing the Elvis shirt, your sweater there. By the way, how cold is it there in Utah currently?
It was 26 degrees when I came to the office this morning.
Jeez,
Wind
snow
chill, I
today?
think it's. Oh yeah, we got all kinds of snow. Wind chill said it felt like 18 today. It was cold. It was
And
freezing.
my wife wants to live in that. She's like, I want to get out of Florida and go somewhere cold. Like, no, you don't. Like
No.
this is not the movies. You're not gonna sit there and say go. It's not the movies. You're gonna sit there and say, oh, they're going to snow. Oh, it's great. We can put lights up and stuff. It'd be great. No, I'm out doing with black ice and trying to warm my car and scooping snow up every day. No, I like my flip flops. I'm good.
No, I agree. I agree. If you guys ever want to switch, just let me know. We can switch for a couple of months.
Well, let's go to Orlando. You're a Disney guy. Come on.
Yeah.
So I mean, seriously, no. But we obviously Lisa Marie Presley passes away 2 weeks now, right? It's about almost 2 weeks. Just had a memorial on Sunday. The last time you were on the show, which was 2021, I believe. When did Benjamin pass away? 2020, 2021?
2020, I believe.
2020.
What was before 20? Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
Because you came on the show right after Ben's passing. We checked in on that, and we said that her well-being is we gotta look at it, because I don't know what she was going through really in personally beyond that, but I know she was going through the divorce with her last husband, and I was saying that I hope she's okay, because I don't know if she could survive this, and we're here now 2 years later, 3 years, whatever, 2.5 years later, and she's gone. I can't say I wasn't necessarily shocked. I was shocked the fact that we saw her just days prior at the Elvis Memorial on the Sunday, the Golden Globes on Tuesday, and literally a day later she's literally in cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround, man.
It's so she gives a speech at Elvis's birthday ceremony at Graceland on January the 8th, and it was short and sweet. It was really short and sweet. She made the reference that the only time she ever gets out of the house is because of Elvis fans, and the crowd erupted on that. And then you're right, we see her at the Golden Globes, and she didn't look healthy. She really didn't. I think you pinned it. You hit it right on the head. When we were talking the last time, how is she going to overcome this latest tragedy? And now, I make a trip to Graceland at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. You go through Meditation Garden now, and it's already surreal when you walk through and you see Ben, his final resting place. You walk around, and then there's, Elvis's grandma, his mom, his dad. And now the fact that Lisa Marie is there, you're seeing pictures of it, but it still doesn't seem real.
No, it doesn't. And it's just, I mean, you everybody knows, like, the reason she became in my radar for years is because of her marriage to Michael Jackson. Where you passionate about Elvis, I'm passionate about MJ, and I've always been one of those fans that loved Lisa Marie from the word go. Loved her. I thought she was the kind of person that Michael needed at a time in his life, especially too someone who with no nonsense, not this there just to publicity, someone that actually cared about his well-being, whatnot. And seeing her after that marriage and go through a lot of the ups and downs through the years and stuff, I always worried about her. We're talking 20 years here. I remember there was an interview she did with Oprah in 2010 after Michael passed, a year after he passed, and that was all the focus on the marriage and whatnot. And she looked like she went through a lot. I'm like, I hope she's okay. She was at the time she was married to her last husband. They were doing all right. Just had twins, all that, and then you see what's happened in the last 5 years and the divorce, and then now obviously Benjamin's suicide. Unfortunately, it's when I saw when the news she passed, I was gutted, honestly, because I was like, wow, this sucks. Like, she doesn't deserve this, man. She deserves to be happy. Look, we get it. Elvis's daughter, and she has money, but it doesn't show you that it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you have issues you can't deal with, it is what it is. Money's not going to solve that. Fame's not going to solve that.
Yeah, yeah. And during the memorial, one of my favorite Elvis connections is Jerry Schilling. I'm sure you're aware of Jerry Schilling. I mean, you
I
want
heard
to
the
talk
name
about
before.
a loyal, yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a loyal friend through and through. And he
Mhm.
actually, he gave a speech at the memorial, and he mentioned how when she was 18, 19 years old, she got in contact with him and said, "I just need a job. People don't think I'm responsible. I just need a job." You
Mhm.
think about that. You tie this into the idea that money fixes everything. From the very beginning, her life was under a microscope. And here at the age of 18,
Mhm.
19 years old, she just needs a job to prove that she's a responsible human being. I
Mhm.
don't I don't think we can quite grasp that. It's simple to get on social media and throw
Yeah.
someone under the bus for whatever reason. We don't understand. We can't fully grasp everything that she has gone through in her time. And so, no, again, I think you're spot on. I really do.
So what's next? I mean, what's next for I guess with Riley and Priscilla? Like she leaves behind 3 kids. Two are still under 18 years old. I mean, what's next now? Who gets? I mean, obviously the father will get the kids. Obviously now, I would assume because they were having a custody issue uh
Yeah.
recently. I don't know where that was going at that point, where it was at that point, but I mean, this is the hard part of it. People talk about yeah, she loses her life but there are kids involved here. You know,
Kids involved. There's kids involved, and you mentioned Priscilla, and I think about you're a dad. I'm a
yeah,
dad. Right?
yes,
You're a husband. I'm a husband.
right,
Put this in perspective that this lady has now had to bury the love of her life,
hmm
her daughter, her
hmm
grandson. I can't imagine, the amount. And I know a lot of Elvis fans have a lot of different opinions on Priscilla, and I don't know if you want to get into that during this particular podcast.
well,
I think
if you
she's
want
been
to,
fantastic.
okay. I
Look,
mean,
I think she's been fantastic. I really do.
okay,
I think she's been fantastic since Elvis's passing, and I know that a lot of Elvis fans probably won't agree with me on that.
mhm,
But you take into consideration the kids losing their mom, the kids losing their brother. Riley
mhm.
right now we just found out she became a mom. We didn't know this, right? This was all under wraps. We didn't.
She was pregnant.
We found well, she's got a
I,
baby.
I had no
They,
idea,
yeah, they kept
and
this
I
really
follow her
under
on Instagram,
wraps.
and and I follow her on Instagram, and
Yeah,
she never. Wow,
yeah, yeah. And so we just found out about this, right? The public
wow.
just found out about this. They tried to keep that very private, which kudos to them for doing so, right? But in the same sense, no, you're right. You take a look at the family and the way things have gone over the last 3 years. Really,
Mhm,
beyond that, man. Let's go back over the last 40 years, the way things have gone within the Presley family. And I think it's going to be
mhm.
it's got to be a very sobering feeling again to go through Meditation Garden and now realize um, anyone that had the direct connection to Elvis in the immediate family, they're now gone.
3 generations too.
Yeah.
Three generations. You have father, daughter, and grandson. I mean,
hmm
it's. I mean, I don't know, man. I, 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 I can't. I hate saying that. I'm not surprised, but when you hear cardiac arrest, like she died of a broken heart. That's what it seems like to me. That's what I saw, a broken heart. Because anybody that's
Yeah.
invested in this story for years, and you saw the news that came out, and I texted you the news. I think, in fact,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, that's the first thing in mind. Like, this is a broken heart because she's gone through so much. She's not gonna make this. And then I saw
Yeah.
it at the Golden Globes. She didn't look that great either at the Golden Globes. She looked
No.
worn and tired.
No. And look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor, but I
Right.
think ultimately you look at this, right? And you say, okay, Gladys, she died at, I believe she was 46 years old, right?
hmm
Heart issues. Elvis died at the age of 42, heart issues. And now you have
hmm
Lisa Marie dying at the age of 54, heart issues. It's something that does run in their family.
Right.
And so, yeah, broken heart, absolutely. No question.
So what's next? So Lisa Marie did have control of the estate, right? If I'm not mistaken.
She owned Graceland. Yeah, she owned
Right.
Graceland. And so now I believe it's controlled by Riley and the twins, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. This is it's just a sad story, man. It really is. I love some of the at least seeing, like, for example, like the Jackson family, for example, like seeing how they've uh come to support. I didn't someone who's a diehard MJ fan and knows not just Michael but also the entire family and like even niece and nephews. I wasn't aware how close they were to. Lisa Marie was close to his nephews and nieces too.
Yeah, I
So
wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I wasn't
I
aware of
wasn't
that.
aware of that either, and I'm pretty diehard. And Michael's oldest sister, Rebe, her oldest son, Austin, just spoke to Lisa Marie in November. And basically saying, because Austin is a musician in the area in California, and she was just saying how proud he shared a text that they had to exchange, they had back in November about getting together for Thanksgiving and this and that, and about how proud he was of him. And when I was not aware of how close she was to this family beyond just Michael and his immediate surroundings, and seeing the family respond after the passing, especially nieces and nephews, it's like wow. It kind of actually, be honest to you, stabilizes the fact that that marriage was a lot more real than people give credit for, because you can't, if it wasn't that real, you're not getting close to the other extra extended family members of people, like nieces and nephews. But
yeah, I agree with that.
I was touched by that. I was touched by Austin Brown's he'd shared a text message from Lisa Marie. They wanted to get together at some point, because she had asked him what are you doing for Thanksgiving, and he said he was doing couple shows here or there and whatnot, but that's about it. But like, wow, it's kind of, I mean, it's really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I try to watch the more. I was busy on Sunday, but I was trying to watch the Memorial. Did you watch Memorial on Sunday?
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. Short and sweet. Thought it was very well done. A couple of highlights from it. The Blackwood Quartet brothers, I thought, were fantastic, singing "Sweet Sweet Spirit." Jerry Schilling's speech was fantastic. I know a lot of people have talked about Axl Rose performing at the Memorial.
Yeah, I saw that
well.
on the building. Yeah, how was Riley? How does she look up there?
Riley didn't speak.
She didn't speak at all. She was on the program though.
She was on the program. She didn't speak. Yeah, she didn't speak. Priscilla. Everything as it all came together though, EJ. It was very, like I said, it was very short and sweet. They let all the fans come in on the lawn. I think they said roughly about 5,000 people showed up, but there was room on the lawn. We didn't see Riley speak. Someone read a passage. Someone read a passage.
Because I was under the impression she was going to speak. Maybe she last minute said no. Maybe she just wasn't in the frame of mind to do it. I guess I'm assuming, because she was on the program. I was like, yeah, she's I saw her Instagram. She finally posted on Instagram like a couple days ago a week after the passing. I teared up. I was like, she doesn't deserve this. This is horrible. And she's had a kid too on top of that. Like I kind of relate to that with my wife when she lost her father a week before I had her second kid. That was not easy. That was rough. To not be able to can't grieve and then you have your child a week later is enough. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to say what it is, honestly. But other than this, it's a sad situation. I hope someone's watching Priscilla and watching Riley especially too, because this has got to be really rough on her especially. I know that her and Lisa were close, very close. Yeah,
and I think people forget Priscilla. She's damn near 80. She's 80 years old.
She is.
You know what I mean? She's close to 80. She's close to 80 years old.
Really? Yeah. She looks great for her age. Just great. I would thought she'd at least mid-60s still or something. Well, you can't be mid-60s. She's Lisa Marie's 54. Making any sense, obviously.
She's hit her mid-70s. So, yeah, I mean, she's approaching 80. It's right around the corner. So.
Yeah. By the way, I need to, as you weren't sure, I need to watch that movie. I was saying for the show before we started recording that my wife and I were watching The Last of Us on HBO, and as I was logging off the HBO Max into turn on TV, the Elvis thing popped up again because it's on like the recommendations of movies on HBO. I'm like, fuck, I haven't seen a movie yet. I still need to watch the movie. So maybe make that a priority this weekend to watch it.
Listen, the older I get, okay, I've come to this conclusion. For one, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of movies. I used to think I really liked music. I've come to the conclusion I don't like music. I like Elvis.
Really?
That's the conclusion I've come to. I can't recall, EJ, the last time I walked into my house and put on a vinyl of something that wasn't Elvis. Like I put a record on that wasn't Elvis. I can't recall the last time I inserted a CD that wasn't Elvis. I can't recall the last time I sat down and brought up some sort of iTunes or something like that and it wasn't Elvis. Like I can't recall the last time. So I'm starting to think I'm getting old and I'm getting set in my ways and I don't really care about much else, right? Like
you go.
Everybody's telling me at work they're talking about like Yellowstone in this. I've had no desire to watch an episode of Yellowstone. I don't care anything I don't have the time to sit down and watch this. So I get where you're coming from in the form of movies. I went and saw. I've seen Elvis probably. I've seen it maybe 30 times. I'm gonna go.
Are you serious?
I'm serious on this because I'd like to sit and dissect every little thing on it. And I'm sure when the Michael bio comes out, which I saw they recently announced
they just
one
got
is
the
coming.
director last week. Yeah,
you're going to do the same thing. You're going to sit and you're going to want to dissect every little part of this movie. And that's what I've done with the Elvis movie. I've sat and I dissected everything. The initial showing, we got to go see it. I think it was 2 weeks before it came out. I sat down in the theater and I was like, I'm going to hate this movie. I went into it thinking I'm going to hate this movie. And my wife tells me, don't be the guy that is yelling out every little thing that's false. Don't be that guy. Like, I'll go see this movie with you, but
that's
don't be.
Me.
That's me.
That was me doing the Queen movie. When I was in theaters, Rhapsody, I'm like, that's the wrong year, damn it. We talking about?
Yeah. And you know, for me, right out of the gate, Elvis performs at Russwood Park, and initially it's, you know, he sings Trouble. I'm like, wait, this is 56. Trouble comes out in 58. Louisiana Hayride. We're talking about the first song. It's you know, I Want to Play House. No, you know, so there are little things in there that are inaccurate, but they're done with care. Right. And that's the thing that I love most about it. Now I'm going to tell you the 68 special, there's a ton of inaccuracies there, but it's all done with reason. It's all done with care, and it's all done for story. And there is some truth to it. There's just a lot of exaggerations. And I think that comes with pretty much any bio, right?
Yeah, except there was one time where the Jackson family did a movie on the Jackson Family, American Dream. I don't know if you've seen it before, like 30 years ago. And they did a part with Michael recording Human Nature in 1983. I'm like, the album was already out, stupid. The album came out in December 82. Thriller came out December 82. Why is he recording the song in 83 when the album's been out for 2 or 3 months already?
Yeah.
That's making any sense. But that's nitpicking, though. But the worst part is the Jackson family who put together the movie.
Yeah.
They're going to get their shit right. So I mean, if they can't get it right, you know, to a T, then who am I to blame the directors who are not as invested as we are? I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that Elvis fans have this thing, and look, I'm the same way. I don't like portrayals of Elvis. I don't like.
How many have there been actually that's been like that have been like not so much the like cheap Lifetime versions, but more like the more universally acclaimed, if you will, ones that have maybe hit theaters at some point. A lot, right?
Kurt Russell did one. I know that's the one that everybody always alludes to. Plenty of miniseries and TV shows. Yeah, I mean, if you consider all the Lifetime garbage and stuff, I mean, like Linda Thompson had her movie Elvis and the Beauty Queen. Priscilla had hers. You know, Elvis and Me, which I guess they're redoing now as well. There's been a ton of them. Actually. Yeah, there's been a ton of them. Austin Butler went well, like all the accolades, all the attention that he's receiving with the 100% on board. There are times. Oh, I'm telling you, there are times in this movie where you're like.
Yeah,
you know, he grabs his nose a little bit, you know, he snarls a little bit, and you're like, man, that looked just like Elvis at times. As far as the singing is concerned, I mean, being an Elvis snob, everything in the 50s, it's Austin Butler singing until we get to the 68 special. Then it's Elvis from there on out. And that's, for me, that's when the movie really starts getting good, right? That's the part that I actually love when we hit the 68 special. So I get why some Elvis fans don't like it. I understand that. But again, for me, I think it's the most accurate portrayal that we've ever seen of Elvis.
Do you think with that?
Go ahead.
Do you think you've been as hardcore if you got to see him when he was alive?
Yeah, I think so. There's something about that.
I feel bad. Man. I feel bad for you that you were able to at least experience a little bit of that. You know, if we got to see him in concert or whatever it might be, at least we experience him alive in real time at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, so the love for Elvis actually comes from my dad. My dad,
really, okay.
Hardcore.
Hardcore. See, my mom, same with Michael. It's from her. She met him like 5 times as a kid. So
yeah. So my dad's very. You and I are very similar in a lot of things, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you. She wants to name me Michael in 1980. She wants to name me Michael, and it's like, no, we're not doing that. It's Ernest. That's okay. She wanted to name me Michael. She wanted to.
My youngest is named Presley. So. Yeah,
my oldest the middle name is Jackson. So there you go.
See what I mean?
I got allowed to do that because so my oldest is Eli. I'm a big Giants fan, obviously you know this, but
Mhm.
You know, I joke around and say that we did because of Eli Manning. It's not really because of Eli Manning. My wife did not want that to be out there, but I put it out there because it's whatever. You know, but the Jackson in his middle name is definitely Michael. That's not without question.
Yeah.
So, no, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I know Lisa Marie loved the portrayal. Like she was,
Yeah.
and she said going into it too, she was not very like fired up about past portrayals and stuff, but once she saw him do it, she was like, wow, she was just blown away and totally invested, and that she wanted to be there to support him in every step of the way. That's why she was at the Golden Globes, just to be there to get his awards and whatnot. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think both her and Priscilla both feel the same way. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
portrayal in the movie is just it's off the charts, and I'll tell you that it's the ending is very tear jerking, right? Like it's very emotional. The way Baz did a tremendous job with it, he really did.
Okay.
Again, as an Elvis fan, you have to look past some of the exaggerations. You have to look past some of the timelines, a little bit murky.
Right.
But in the same sense, when you just watch the portrayal and you look at the story, you got to remember it's being told through Colonel Parker's eyes. That's what the story is being told through.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now you
It's
told me
based.
that there's been some. Is there shady-ish stuff with him and Elvis? Or were they
Oh
good?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know that they were ever. 1973, I believe, was the year Elvis officially he tried to fire Colonel Parker, and you see this play out in the movie, and it's completely exaggerated in the movie the way it
Mm-hmm.
went down. But Colonel Parker was actually, I think it was 1980, if I'm not mistaken, is when there was a separation between him and Elvis's estate.
Oh,
Um,
legally, right.
yeah, I mean, there's the guy was a carny. Let's put it that way. The guy was a carny. And you see that, you get that. I do believe, though, one of the biggest misinterpretations this movie has presented to people who maybe don't know the story so well, Colonel Parker did a lot of really, really good things for Elvis's career. The
Okay.
fact of the matter is, we're talking about Elvis Presley. He passed away in 1977. Here we are, 2013, and we're still talking about Elvis, right? This guy still
Right.
has he still has albums squeaking into the top 20. I mean, he had,
Yeah.
50 years after his passing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Colonel Parker had to do something correctly, right? Because the only career he ever managed was Elvis Presley. Did he have some missteps? Yes, absolutely. But in the same sense, I do believe that Colonel Parker did a lot of good for Elvis as well. And I don't know that it was necessarily highlighted in the movie. I think if you know the background of Elvis and the Colonel, you understand that there were some things that the Colonel did very well.
Is he still with us? Colonel still with us today?
No, he passed away in 1997.
Oh wow, a long time ago. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I didn't know if he was still with us or not. Yeah, I'm gonna check the movie out this weekend probably finally this because I could get reminders. This is the good thing with football being close being done now. I get more time. I get more time now to do other things. Like, and obviously, you don't like doing movie watch. I thought I was bad, dude. You're worse than I am, bro. When it comes to like, so like, I love music. I listen a lot of MJ. Don't wrong, but I also listen to a lot of Queen, a lot of Metallica, a lot of other bands and stuff like nature. And TV shows are hard for me to watch today because I have the worst ADHD in the world. So to be to sit down and to lock in. Like last night, watching that show for an hour and 15 minutes was a challenge itself because I wanted to watch some like YouTube, like sports media stuff I was watching throughout the day. Reactions to the divisional weekend and whatnot. So it's a challenge for me sometimes to sit to lock in like that, man. You at least you committed to, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not into that. I'm not gonna do it. Why bother? This is who I am. I'm locking in this, and that's it.
Here's the thing. I travel with my job, working in radio, doing play-by-play. This time of year, I travel 4 or 5 times a week, right, for basketball games, doing play-by-play for 2 high schools and a junior college.
On top of the show too. On top of the radio show too.
Yeah, I got a daily show on top of everything else. And
right.
So it's all sport. It's geared towards sports. And so for me, I got to really have an interest to sit and watch something.
Right.
And as far as music is concerned, there's a special record label. It's called FTD, Follow That Dream Records, where they are now releasing soundboards of pretty much every Elvis concert from 1971, 1970 on. And so we're getting these new releases every couple of months. I get one of those. And to me, that's new music. It may be the same set list that he had in 76, 65, but it's new Elvis material. And so, also working in radio, I have to listen to a lot of new, we have 3 different formats here. We have a classic rock, we have a country, and we have a top 40. So I have to listen to those radio stations on a regular basis, but it's not listening to relax. It's listening for work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it burns you out.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, it does. It burns you out. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it possible? Well, maybe not in your case. Like doing media, could it actually, in some ways, like make you less diehard with your teams? I mean, I know for a little while when I was doing hardcore back in 2013-14, there was a time where like maybe not necessarily the Heat, but definitely with the Giants and the Mets in baseball, that it did take the edge off my fandom in comparison to where I was just a fan. Do you feel like doing media that maybe the edge, maybe not the Lakers, because you're the diehard Laker fans. I don't think it applies to the Lakers for you, of course, but maybe the other teams that the edge off a little bit.
I would, I can understand how that would happen. Being in the Utah market, I don't heavily focus on my favorite teams. Obviously being in people in Utah, I hate teams from Los Angeles, right? One of the things that is
you love shitting on Jazz fans, don't you?
Angeles, right?
You really love shitting on Jazz fans, don't you? Jesus. I love it though.
But I'll tell you what helps me as far as my fanhood. My daughter is getting is really into sports. She's getting into it, right? So she loves sitting down watching the Lakers. She loves watching the Rams with me. My wife loves Notre Dame football. I'm a huge Notre Dame football fan. It helps that my wife loves Notre Dame football. Right. And then in the summertime, things settle down a little bit, and I just love baseball. So for me, West Coast baseball, being a Dodger fan is fantastic because when the kids are in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, Dodger baseball's on because it's West Coast baseball. So for me, I'm going to say no, but I could see the way that would happen for a lot of people. I totally understand it. If somebody comes up, and I've heard people say that, like, you don't become a fan anymore. I will tell you that I don't attend live games to the extent that I used to. Be it from a time perspective or be it if I'm covering a game, it's different now going to games live. But family time for us is sitting down and watching a Laker, a Ram, a Dodger, or Notre Dame game. So that helps in that regard.
Well, you get credential for Jazz games too, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's built in the sense where it's like the surprise factor, fun factor is kind of gone, I guess, because you go a lot anyway. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I've actually been able to dial that down. Ever since COVID, I've been able to dial that down. There's other avenues where we can actually cover the team from a distance because I'm about 120 miles away from Salt Lake. There was once a time I was covering every single chance I get. Then you have kids, EJ, and that slows you down a little bit too, right? So you got to recalibrate the mind a little bit. And
I don't have hair anymore.
Yeah, mine's going. It's gray.
And my beard, it's gray. So there you go.
I can't grow one of those.
Oh my God, you actually look your age now for once. Remember I used to teach you back in the day? Like, how, like, dude, like, you're like, so how old are you now? You 34, 35?
36.
Oh,
yep.
So I met you when you're 26. You look like you're 15 years old. I swear to God. And I like this dude, like, because the way you sound on radio, you sound like 20 years older than your actual age.
I think that's like a good thing, right?
No, that's what I'm saying though. Like you look at you think like, okay, he looks like he's like 18 or less, but then he sounds like a grown ass man. Oh, by the way, he has a wife and kids too. It's a record.
An 8
don't say, oh, by the way. No, but that's a good thing. But no, I'm saying, but now with a little silver hair on the side, no, you actually looking like a 36-year-old person as opposed to like a 26-year-old.
I've had people ask me, "Are you going to dye the hair?" I'm like, "No, I want to be all gray like Steve Martin." At some point, I just want to be all gray.
Oh man. Also, not to stay somber, I'll go back to somber, but this week is also actually we're recording on Tuesday, by the way. But to listeners out there in the podcast, Thursday will be the 3-year anniversary of your other hero, Kobe Bryant, passing 3 years later. It's so fascinating though. 3 years later, how much things we've gone through as a society in 3 years, obviously COVID and everything else. And like, obviously I don't forget 3 years ago. I know where I was when it happened, the whole 9, and that was a rough day, man. That was a rough day. But I can't believe it's been 3 years since this. And I don't know. outside in real time, outside Michael passing for me, of course, in 2009, this was probably the biggest for me. Celebrity, oh my God, wow factor, passing, shock value.
Yeah.
Where were you again? We might have spoken about this last time on the pod, but where were you again when you found out this happened? Kobe was passed away?
I was at home. I was at home, and it was actually I can, there's details that are meaningless in the podcast, but I remember we were watching Wizard of Oz with my daughter,
I love that movie.
whose name my oldest daughter is Kobe, by the way. That's my oldest daughter. Presley's my youngest daughter, and my mom texts me, and she says, "Kobe Bryant, are you being serious?" And I was like, "Huh?" So I immediately, flipped on to Twitter. Was the first thing I went, first place I went, and I just left the room, went downstairs into my basement, turned on the TV, and it didn't seem real. It didn't seem really, Jay. I remember my wife comes walking down and asks me if I'm okay, and I already had tears in my eyes. And the initial thought was, maybe Kobe survived this. Yeah, because it's Kobe, right? I mean, it was Kobe,
exactly.
Right? The guy, he's superhuman in my mind. Maybe he survived this. And then for the next, I want to say it was like the next month, it was just the entire sports world. It just seemed like it stopped, right? And you go back 3 years later and you look at some of the memorials at the NBA itself, how they kind of memorialized Kobe, and you saw the impact that he had on today's generation of players.
Oh yeah.
And today's generation of players, they're our age. You know what I'm saying? Like there are guys these guys grew up watching Kobe just like you and I did. Whereas, my first recollection of the NBA was at tail end of Magic Johnson's career. That's what my father grew up watching, was Magic and Worthy and Jabbar. And then you push forward, to Chamberlain, West, and those guys. For us, it was Kobe. It was Kobe and Shaq. And so I can't believe it's been 3 years, but in the same sense, it seems a lot longer at times. Right. And I think during COVID in 2020, there were times, EJ, I almost forgot that Kobe wasn't here, in the sense that I would get on, check his Twitter account. I'd get on, check Granity Studios. I'd check, Instagram. Kobe's gone. And it was like, man, we really, I felt like we needed a voice like Kobe. It would have been nice to have Kobe's voice around in 2020.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I thought when 3 years later, going through COVID, like, it was easy to forget, because we didn't have, it felt like we didn't have time to grieve, because before you knew it, we had, 45 days later, we have COVID, and there's so much going on there, and then that's never ended, and whatnot. So, like, I think I told where I was when he passed. I was actually at Target with my kids at Target, and I got some pizza on the way out, and we're walking to the car, and I get a text from someone saying that my brother or my sister saying, Kobe Bryant helicopter accident. Now, at the time, they didn't confirm that he died. They just said he was on a helicopter that crashed. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay. And I immediately texted. I know I texted Jabari Davis. I texted you, and I texted a couple other Laker fans I know that I'm close to, that just to kind of see if you heard what's going on. And I think once I got home, and then as I'm driving home, now Target's like 10 minutes from my house, so that was not a long drive. I get home, and then you start hearing the confirmations about, yes, he was on that plane, on that helicopter. Oh, by the way, it could be his entire family too on there as well. Now, we got clearance. Obviously, it wasn't the entire family; it was just his daughter Gianna, and then the other passengers on there on that unfortunately passed with him. That was a strange day. It was a Sunday too. That was a strange day, man. That was a strange day. I remember putting on NBA TV the entire day, watching that whole, just the memorial. ESPN did a good job. NBA TV crushed it. I thought they did a fantastic job on covering that. What really hit me was watching the young players in the league, like seeing, like, I think a couple players, I can't remember the names exactly, but young players, like there was a Knicks game at that night, I think that night also too, at MSG, and the tears rolling on the faces. I'm like, just seeing that's the impact, is seeing the younger players, like under 30 years old, that were, like you said, raised on Kobe and idolized him, and then seeing it, dealing with it in real time. That's what hit me. It's like, holy shit, he really is gone. And he's someone, it's funny, like coming into the league, he was someone I didn't care for. I thought it was I was never a big Jordan guy because, like, even though Jordan's the greatest of all time, in my opinion, even growing up as a kid, going through that, no one's Jordan. And Kobe, always felt Kobe was trying to push that. Well, I'm the next guy. Brash don't care. You get that. And again, back then, I'm also young. We're around the same age. And then, at some point, I came around on Kobe. I think after Colorado, I came around on Kobe to where I became a really big fan. And, it's I always found him fascinating, not just on the court, but off the court. I was always so intrigued by what he was going to do after basketball, because to me, I felt like, unlike Jordan, Kobe felt more interesting to me. Like, what was he going to do? And the fact that you won was an Oscar for the thing he did, the basketball,
Dear Basketball.
Yeah, Dear Basketball, right? And then other things he did other things he was doing outside basketball. I always felt that his story was more intriguing to me outside of basketball than Jordan's, and I was so excited for his post career, and I felt like we were robbed of something of that. We got what we want out of Kobe. We got almost 20 years of Kobe Bryant's career, in the NBA, and obviously it was excellent personified. But everything after that, as well as I felt we were robbed of that, because he had something to give to the society beyond just the NBA. And to me, that's the truest victory of Kobe Bryant, because yes, he was a guy that was driven, but he knew when it was time to go. And he knew, and he had other things he wanted to accomplish outside basketball. And to me, that was the big win for him.
Kobe was a life coach without knowing that he was a life coach, right? And I think that that's what was going to come the second part of his life, once basketball was now a thing of the past. And I think that's why it became easy for him to accept the fact that basketball is done. I think you can apply the lessons that Kobe, you can apply what Kobe did on the court to life lessons every day. We only got to see, 3 years of Kobe, 4 years of Kobe, 5, something like that, post basketball career. So the things that like I said, I mentioned Granity Studios. They were doing some terrific things there. We saw him win an Oscar for Dear Basketball, the creative genius of Kobe. He was a storyteller. You're 100% right. Kobe was a life coach. And we were robbed of that. Absolutely.
Is it possible that having all girls may have actually helped with that, tempered him down to where leveled him? Women seem to have that kind of effect on them. And when you have all girls, especially, this, you have 2 daughters. Come on now. I have 2 boys. I can't relate. I have 2 boys that drive me up a fucking wall, but I love them to death, but they jump up a wall right now, but maybe having girls may have actually tempered them down to look at things more broadly. Like I said, women have an effect in that way.
Yeah, they do. I mean, from personal experience, I can tell you, we have our first daughter back in 2014, I believe Kobe was born. Yeah, she's about to be 9, so 2014. And I'm the last boy in my family. So in order to carry on the family name, I got to have a boy. And my wife and I, we wait about 5 years, and we decided, okay, we're going to have one more child. And I didn't want a boy. I wanted a girl.
Yeah, you tell me that.
Yeah,
I didn't want
that.
You say right. You initially told me that before you wanted a boy, and then you changed your mind. You said, you know what? I want another girl.
I want a girl. I want another girl.
Yeah.
I want girls. Like, there's something special about them. I don't know what it is. I mean, they level you out. I'll tell you. I can give you. For me, my passion in the field of work is play-by-play broadcasting. That is my passion in the field. I love play-by-play broadcasting. I put so much work into it. The best part of play-by-play now for me is when I can take my daughter and she can sit next to me in the broadcast booth. I would have never have thought about that.
I saw that picture. I think today. I saw a picture of your daughter in there. Broadcasting. That's so cool. Did she want to do that at some point? Did she want to do something broadcasting in the future?
No, I'm not gonna let her. No. She just wants to be with Dad. That's it. She just wants to be with Dad. She loves basketball, and she wants to be with Dad. She's never really said that she wants to be on the radio or anything like that. But no, it levels you out, man. It really does. And I think when I come home from work, I have 3 girls waiting for me, my wife and my 2 daughters, and it does. It levels you out. There's a level of sensitivity. There's a level of passion. There's a level of care that a woman and girls can put within a house that you don't get with guys, man. You just don't. Now that doesn't mean that they don't like the roughhouse, right? I mean, as soon as I walk up the stairs in my house, I have both my daughters are attacking me. You know, they want to wrestle and box and stuff like that. But in the same sense, actually, I got to tell you this. I showed my oldest daughter the Royal Rumble where Ultimate Warrior loses Sergeant Slaughter. Is it the Royal
91.
Rumble?
91. I just watched it on Sunday, actually. I'm actually doing. No, it's funny. I'm actually doing. Well, back to the Kobe thing real quick. You know what cheered me up that night? Actually, because I was depressed entirely when he died. That was the same night the Royal Rumble 2020. That was the same night the Royal Rumble 2020. So but even at the Rumble that night, the Kobe thing hadn't gotten out, and they paid tribute, and they echo people at the stadium with Kobe shirts, 8/24, you name it. So, but yeah, I just watched that one actually 2 days ago because I'm doing the Rumble binge.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that for Kobe's Royal Rumble.
I
didn't know that. But I stopped watching wrestling when I was like 11, 12 years old. So
I did too, and I came back. I did too. No, but I did. No. So I did, and I came back, and I stopped again at age 23, and I went away for 17 years, and came back recently. Because, but the thing is, and remember, you had me on your show for this years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. It has its place. It's not a sport. Stop with the sport thing. It's not a sport. Okay, it's sports entertainment. Leave it alone. It is what it is. It's scripted. Don't put that. Seeing that on ESPN, even during COVID, was weird. Like, no, this is not a sport. If I want to watch wrestling, I'll put on Peacock. I'll put on Coliseum Video. You know what I mean? It has its place, but don't make it more than it has to be. And I'm with you on that.
No, so my daughter, she likes to roughhouse a little bit, my oldest daughter. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show her the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. So I put on Peacock and I put on the Royal Rumble where Ultimate Warrior loses. And I wanted to show her Warrior because this guy was like a comic book hero, right? Like that was like the persona. He was a comic book. And she watches it for about 5 minutes. And I said, what do you think? And she goes, this is really weird. Can I go now?
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, you can go.
That's great, and that's funny. No, that's funny you said that one too. I just watched that 2 days ago because I'm actually watching. I'm watching every Royal Rumble match from '88 to present day because this week is the Royal Rumble. This year's Royal Rumble, so I want to watch all of it. This the matches, though, not the entire card. Just the match itself. So I just passed 91 actually this past Sunday. It's funny you said that.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. My daughter wasn't amused. She wasn't amused by it. She didn't find
humor
in it.
Look, you like what you like. You like what you like. You know what I mean? My oldest son loves wrestling. My youngest one not so much. You know. So your Lakers they're doing pretty well. AD, man.
So I think if you go back, I'm trying to remember the statistic. I want to say it was like from November 15th on. This has been a top 5-6 team of the Western Conference. They've done much better than I initially expected without AD. Yeah. I always have the feeling that if you have AD, you have LeBron out on the floor at the same time, you have a puncher's chance. They did very well, I think, ahead of the trade deadline, going out and getting Rui from Washington. I think you're going to add some size. You're going to add a little bit of scoring ability, a guy that maybe can guard a little bit one-on-one. Big fan of Thomas Bryant. They've done some good things. Curious to see what they do from here on out. If we take a look at the trade deadline that's looming. Let me put it this way. I don't believe the Lakers win a championship. Okay, I don't believe they win a title this year. But I don't know of any team that would want to see them in a 7-game set if LeBron and AD are healthy. Let me put it that way.
No. Especially this year. The parity in the NBA, dude, it's taken, 30-something years to get to this point now in the NBA? But the parity now in the NBA is the best it's been since I've been alive. And I'm not even joking. Like, you can make Jordan, you can make a case right now. I'm just putting a ballpark number right now. You can make a case for at least like 8 to 10 teams that if they win a championship, it wouldn't be surprising. Like,
wouldn't surprise you, right?
If Denver wins it, not a shock because Denver's been really good this year. If Dallas goes on a heater and wins it because of Luka, it wouldn't shock you just because it's Luka. Because the parity in this league has been fantastic this year, and I've always loved the NBA. Always loved the NBA. My favorite sport, my favorite league in the world. But the one thing they've struggled with for a long time. This goes back to the Jordan years too, even before that. Is that if you have like decent teams on the bottom, you always had an idea who's in the finals every year. Like you always last 10 years, it's always the Lakers, the Warriors, Spurs, the Heat, and that's it. You have like a segment of like 4 teams that get to the finals every year, and that's it. Now, for the last couple of years, you have Toronto winning it in 2019. Milwaukee's won a title recently. You have all these teams that also are in the mix now that for decades that you never even had that opportunity now. And I think for the first time in many, 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 many years, the parity in the league has been fantastic. I'm telling people who don't watch the NBA as much as they used to because of that same reason. This is the best time to be a fan because the league is just right now fantastic.
I think we're getting away from the player fraternity era as well. Like I'm not sensing, and that helps. That's going to help.
That's a good point.
In the form of parity, right? I want to say a guy like Dame Lillard, and I'm just using it when I say a guy like Dame Lillard, I'm talking about a skill set. Okay, I'm not talking about Dame personally. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about Dame's skill set. 10 to 15 years ago would have been more prone to jumping ship, leaving a franchise like Portland and joining a franchise that at least had one other superstar. Dame has no care to do that, and so I just feel like the player fraternity era is going away. I think it's great for the NBA. There was also an offseason a few years ago, when the Lakers acquired AD and the Clippers went out and they got Paul George and Kawhi. You're looking at the landscape of the Western Conference and you're like, okay, there's two here, two here, two here. There's two superstars kind of down the board on numerous amounts of teams. It is a good time for the NBA. I really believe it's one of the better times for the NBA over the last 10, 15 years, no question.
Yeah, you're not seeing the triplets anymore as much.
No.
I think the last one we saw, I think, to be honest with you, Golden State has a case to be the reason why this kind of happened. Like, yeah, you have Steph Curry and Clay and Draymond, but that was a natural fit. That was something that was built from scratch. That wasn't guys that came off the street. Like, we acquired this guy from this team, this team, let's go and run and win titles. That came naturally, and I think teams are starting to embrace that now. That if you can build a culture around a guy or two, as you said, and build with high IQ players, you can still win that way too, and still have cap room to spend on quality players on the bottom end of the roster. And I think that you're seeing more and more of that now in spades. Like Giannis wins with Chris Middleton, who's a good number two. He's not great; he's a good number two, and you're seeing less of the three. To be honest with you, I'm actually okay with that. I like. Look, I might want my team to win every year. I'm a Heat fan. I want them to win every year. But the fact of the matter is, I like the fact that it's still spread out. I could turn on last night the Kings and the Grizzlies, and that's actually a big game. The Kings are good this year. The Kings are really good this year, and they're fun to watch.
OKC's fun to watch. I know.
Oh my God, yes.
They're fun to watch. They're hovering right now outside of that playing bracket, that 7-10 spot. But they're fun to watch. Memphis is becoming the team that you kind of love to hate.
But it's much fun though.
They're fun. They're fun. That's what I'm saying. Like it's compelling basketball.
Yeah.
Right. I look over at the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics are fun to watch. The Celtics are to me. The Celtics right now are the cream of the crop. The Cleveland Cavaliers are very fun to watch. We watched Donovan Mitchell drop 70+ this year. Hell, the Utah Jazz are 25-25 at this particular time.
What's the vibe?
They're fun to watch.
What's the vibe there with the Jazz now post Mitchell, post Gobert? Are they excited about this team?
Yeah, it's fun again. There was a time the last year of Mitchell and Rudy was not fun. It wasn't fun. You could tell. It wasn't fun. And I almost felt like when Dallas ousted Utah, it was almost like a relief from a fan base. It's over. We can start the rebuild. There was really no Jazz fans were not upset, I don't believe. When Rudy was dealt, I think there was more of a connection with Donovan. Donovan did a very good job of being involved within the community. And that's not a knock on Rudy. Yeah, it's not a knock on Rudy. Just Donovan did a really good job at that. I think Donovan developed a lot of connections. The fan base was able to really connect with Donovan. And so when he left, I think there were some sad Jazz fans, but at the same time, man, they're entertaining. They're fun to watch. Jordan Clarkson is absolutely a fan favorite. In fact, I'm trying to think of the last time when you look at what excitement Jordan Clarkson brings to the table. I'd hate to say I'm putting him on the level of Donovan in the sense of that excitement, but Jordan Clarkson has kind of been the guy to kind of bridge it right to the next era of Utah Jazz basketball. And I think it's bright. I mean, you take a look at the deal that they pulled off with Minnesota. EJ, they're better than Minnesota, and they depleted this team of all their assets, right? and they're better than the Timberwolves right now.
It could be arguably the worst trade in history of basketball. I said it when it happened too. Like I said, this is a bad trade. It makes no sense. Good job, Utah. Good job, Danny Ainge, right?
Danny Ainge, man.
Yeah, he's doing.
Ainge has done some good work.
He really has. We talk about parity in the league. NBA MVP race. This is marked as the parity in general. I mean, you can go 5, 6, 7 guys that have a legitimate argument to be certainly in the conversation for MVP. Who is your MVP right now? If you had to vote right now,
Luka.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Luka.
My only pushback on Luka right now is the win-loss record. That has to mean something to the degree.
Okay, but I agree with you in a sense. So are we talking best player of the best team, which is going to give it to Jokic again? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think, that's why I'm on the Jokic team, because he's elevating that team now to the point where now it's turning into winning basketball. Like last year, like it's kind of the same argument too. Like Luka would have been what Jokic was last year. I actually thought Embiid should have won it last year, but that was also trading hairs too. Also, it was like nip and tuck. If you said Embiid, I would have been mad. If you say Jokic, I've been mad either. So, but Luka thing is good. I agree. Luka's definitely in the conversation.
Let's I feel bad for Luka. I really feel bad for Luka, because here's Dallas. Jalen Brunson comes into his own, right? You got a backcourt running mate for this guy, and Mark Cuban gets cheap. He gets cheap, and you let Brunson move over to New York. I don't know. I don't know what the warning signs were. I don't know why it seemed like Dallas was never in the conversation to retain Brunson. I just look at this roster right now at Dallas. You remove Luka from the equation, they're not even a top 11 team, not even top 12 team of the Western Conference right now, EJ. The bottom half of the Western or the bottom 3 in the Western Conference is bad. Like, I get this. But in the same sense, what Luka is accomplishing with not a lot of help around him. I mean, we finally saw the first kind of push. Hey, we need to improve the roster. I'm paraphrasing, but this came out about 2 weeks ago. I look at what the Mavericks have done to supply Luka with the proper running mates, and it's kind of frustrating, right? Feels like Dallas got their ring, and Cuban has been relatively cheap ever since.
So the Luka thing is weird, because I think trying to find a star-ish for Luka is a challenge, because he's such, like, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like James Harden, like in Houston, for example. Like, he's so good with the ball that anybody you get around him that takes away possessions from him could hurt. Like, he doesn't need a sidekick to me, the best example I can use for Luka right now in terms of like how you should build this Mavericks team is the way the Milwaukee's done it. Giannis is a clear number one. Clear.
Yeah.
But you need a number 2 that's actually not challenging number 1, but knows its role, but also it's in a comfortable place. And that's the problem. What player out there is a clear number 2 that can give Luka space to be Luka, but still be number 2? Where it's like Jordan and Pippen, for example. Like, Jordan was clear number 1, but Pippen was a clear number 2. Kobe and Shaq was 1A, 1B. Let's be real here. 1A, 1B. It's hard to make that work.
Kobe Gasol. Kobe Gasol would be a good reference.
There you go.
Sure.
That's another one. So LeBron and Wade, a little more or less. I mean, LeBron clear number 1, but the Wade's a lot closer to 1 than you realize, because he wasn't number 1 for. But for Luka, I think it's hard to find that who's the guy that fits well, that allows Luka to be Luka, but still do his own thing as number 2 to where it helps elevate the team. That's the challenge. See, the Mavericks had that in 2011 with Dirk, where you put Dirk and then high IQ players around him. Now, granted, you got Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer, past his prime, obviously, but still, that leadership helped. How you build this team on Luka, it's a lot harder than you think. Cause I don't think you can just get anybody to play with Luka. You can't just get a Paul George, because to me, Paul George is impactful with the ball, and by doing that, you now take away the ball from Luka a little bit, and that hurts the team.
Fair point. Too. That's a good point.
So I don't know which player out there can you identify that can fit that role. Like, Christian Wood is good, but I don't know if he's a clear number 2 though.
No.
You know what I'm saying? He's put up numbers, but Middleton is that perfect number 2. Giannis will be Giannis. Middleton still gets his shots, but it doesn't challenge Giannis. It's perfect. That's what Luka needs, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it's a good conversational piece, that's for sure. I'm curious to see what Dallas does here over the next couple of weeks. And if they don't do anything at the trade deadline, I think the Mavericks become one of the more interesting teams once we hit the offseason.
Do you know any players that might fit that spot? Off the top of your head? You know the league pretty well. It's on top of your head. Like, anybody
That's
that you can just throw in there.
that's available.
I mean, who would? Well, it'd be available. Who would be the perfect match for that team that wouldn't hurt Luka with touches, but be a clear number two that could still contribute and help his team at the same time?
Oh, I'm gonna upset a lot of people when I say this. Give me Cat.
You know what's funny? I kind of agree with you on that. No, I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm being serious.
Good.
I don't look at Cat as a number one guy. I don't see him. He has number one talent, but I feel like Anthony Edwards has more number one energy than Cat. I can see that because Cat wouldn't take touches from Luka either in a significant way as well. I actually agree with that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with us, but that's okay, right? Like I think we're on the same way. We're on the same page here. We're on the same way.
No, right, but is it because for the same thing I said? Like Cat isn't necessarily he's a number one talent, but I don't view Cat as like the number one guy because he's not doesn't have the leadership skills to be that guy, like a Giannis or a Luka or Steph. Like I don't view him that way.
Right.
He's good. He's a top 20 player in the league.
Oh yeah. He's fantastic. Sure.
Right. I actually like that one. Actually, I never thought that though. That's good. What else? Divisional championship weekend here. Who you like this weekend?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Championship weekend. NFL championship weekend. Eagles, Niners. How you feel about these games?
Give me Eagles, Bengals. I don't think anyone's playing better football right now than the Bengals. And at some point in time, I got to start giving Philadelphia love. I haven't been giving them love all season long. In fact,
don't do that. Don't do that. I hate the Eagles. Come on, don't do that. I'm joking. Of course.
At some point, I mean, they pushed all the right buttons at the deadline. They went out, they got some extra pass. They didn't need pass rush. They went out and they grabbed additional assets. They go out and they grab a Robert Quinn. They go out and they grab an Ndamukong Suh, right? They went out and they got better. They stayed aggressive mid-season, and I really have to appreciate that. Cincinnati, there's nobody playing better football than Cincinnati right now. The 27-10 win over Buffalo, game wasn't even that close.
Nope.
The game was not even that close.
They left points on the board. They left points on the board. Yeah.
They did. Game wasn't even that close. They went into Buffalo and they beat them like they owed them money. I mean, it was just a total, to me, that was the biggest shocker of the weekend, hands down. I did think the Giants would fare a little bit better against the Eagles, but I've just come to the conclusion that this is a very good football team. And at some point in time, San Francisco is going to be in a spot where they have to play from behind. And if that happens, this team's in serious trouble. They didn't have to do it against Dallas. They didn't have to do it against Seattle. I guess early on in the game, they were down by 7 points
3
or something. I can't even.
Well, this game?
3, okay.
3.
Yeah. Okay. But at some point in time, if you apply pressure and you force San Francisco out of their game, where Kyle Shanahan cannot mask the deficiencies of Brock Purdy, all of a sudden you put this team behind the 8 ball, and that's what Philly does. I believe this weekend, and that's how I believe Philly gets the win on the road for San Francisco. By the way, they run into some problems with Philly this weekend. They play from behind.
On the last pod I recorded, I said Philly today. Thursday, I might say San Francisco. That's how close this game is. But I also said too, of the two quarterbacks, who's less likely to make more mistakes in this game? Probably Purdy. I'm not saying he will do that. I'm just saying who the likelihood of who someone making mistakes will probably be him, not Hurts.
Depending. I think depending because if let's say Philly comes out, and this 49er defense is outstanding, right? But let's say that Philly comes out and they're amazing. Let's say Philly comes out and all of a sudden San Francisco's faced with a 10-0 hole right out of the gate. Let's say it's 10-0 Philly. Like that's feasible, right? 10-0 Philly is feasible. All of a sudden, you're putting Brock Purdy in a position to where he can make mistakes, right? He's going to make mistakes. You go back to the Dallas game, Trevon Diggs drops the interception, hits him right in the gut. He comes up with that pick inside the 10-yard line. I don't know that San Francisco wins this game this past Sunday.
There you go. I agree.
So if you put Brock in a situation to where he is an unfamiliar territory, let's put it that way, right? Force them to play from behind, I think Philly will coast to a win. I'm going to take Philly. What's the spread on this game right now?
I think it's as of right now. Let me check right now real quick because I think it was 2.5 on Monday. Let me see real quick. So right now, okay, so it opened at Philly minus 3.5. Is not down a point already. Down minus 2.5 now.
Philly, easy money.
If I'm betting this game, I'm betting Philly to cover the spread.
No question. No question.
Yeah. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is good, man. You know, I can't stand the Eagles. They're probably
Right.
my least favorite franchise in all sports. But I love Jalen Hurts, though. I've been a Jalen Hurts supporter since Alabama. He's a great kid. So in some ways, I'm kind of torn in this game because, I mean, I hate the Niners too, but I want them to win. But I love Jalen Hurts. He's a great kid. He deserves his flowers. Here's my question, though, real quick. On the other game in the AFC, are you buying the Joe Burrow best quarterback in the league narrative yet? Because there's some. Go ahead, because there's some talk about that now. And I'll tell you what, I'm still Mahomes number one, but I'll tell you this: the way Dan Orlovsky and the ESPN explained why Burrow's the best quarterback in the league, it makes sense, and because he's the, in terms of the skill set and what he can do, which is attainable by most quarterbacks, he considers Mahomes a outlier. What he does because his skill set is like out there, whereas Burrow does the basics right, kind of like Tom Brady in a sense, where it's right, but he does it. He actually still does it. When other quarterbacks who can do it just can't do it, and Burrow can do the basic quarterback, do the basic I'm the number one quarterback thing right. I'm still Mahomes 1, Burrow 2 at this point now, but I can see his argument on that, on Burrow being number 1.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, lifetime matchups, Joe Burrow leads Patrick Mahomes 3-0, correct?
Correct.
He gets to 4-0, knocks him out of the AFC Championship for the second consecutive year, regardless of Mahomes is healthy
in Arrowhead
or not.
In Arrowhead.
There's no argument at that point. If he goes back into Arrowhead again, and I expect they will, I'm taking Cincy to win this game. I think right now they're playing better football than anyone in the league, including the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at what Cincinnati has accomplished over the last 5 weeks, this is the best team in football right now. And if he goes into Arrowhead and he becomes 4-0 against Patrick Mahomes, there's no argument.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that kid is good. I remember calling him Joe Montana light back when he beat Alabama November 2019. I remember telling my brother next to me, like, this is like Joe Montana. Like, he doesn't get rattled. It isn't that he's any better than anybody else. It's that he doesn't get rattled. And to me, the aura means so much to me. The aura elevates everything. And Montana had that. And Brady, of course, had that in spades. So, yeah, I'm with you. I got Bengals in that game as well, too. One more thing we'll get you out of here. Notre Dame football. Year 1 of Freeman. What'd you think?
Started off really, 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 really bad. But I think for a first-year head coach, you're looking at the development, the way that they came on after suffering what could have just been a disaster. The Ohio State loss, I mean, I think if you have above-average quarterback play, they probably win that game. I mean, they're in a position to win that game, right?
To be won, yeah.
It was a very winnable game, and then you come back and you lose them. Final score was 21-10.
That was closer than that. That was closer than that. Trust me, that game was a lot closer than that score.
Absolutely. And then you come back and you lose to Marshall. And at this point, you're sitting here thinking, what in the world? And then they very easily could have lost to Cal, right? When you look at the turnaround, I think one of the things that hampered Marcus Freeman, it's very basic, but to say quarterback play really hampered Notre Dame this year. Drew Pine, all the respect in the world for the kid. I thought he played up to his ability. But they had some quality wins. The win over Clemson was obviously fantastic. The road win against Syracuse was great. The neutral site win over BYU at the time, who was a top 25 team, was a good win. So they did, I was happy with it. I always go back, and you know how I felt about Brian Kelly. You and I had a conversation about Brian Kelly. You know how I felt.
Been a while.
Yeah. Coaches don't leave programs that are designed to win or set up or constructed to win championships. I don't care what level we're talking. High school, college, professional, it doesn't matter. A coach is not going to leave a situation where a program is set to win a title to go to a different situation. No coach would do that, right? So this idea that Notre Dame was close, I thought they were overrated going into the season. They were inside the top 10. I think they were 5 or 6, if I remember right.
Coming to the year, they were never top 10, yes.
Yeah, and I didn't buy that just based off quarterback play. Going into next season, they need a little bit of defensive line help. They've used the portal a little bit in that sense. They finally got a quarterback. They got, a guy. Anytime you can mention, Hartman is mentioned in the same breath now as Phillip Rivers, 2 of the most prolific passers in ACC history. You have something there. Notre Dame's schedule in 2023, it's awful. It's not a good schedule. I don't know if you paid attention to it or not.
We say
First,
off would be like, we mean easy or hard?
yeah, but first month of the season is easy. And so they'll be 4-0. I think they get Ohio State the fifth game of the year, fourth or fifth game of the year. First month of the season is not great for Notre Dame. And so I look at it as, this is now a 10-win team minimum based off of the schedule and the talent they have coming back. I'm all on board with Marcus Freeman, and I think that he's a very easy person to like, very easy person to get behind. And I'm also curious to see what Tommy Rees does with a quarterback. That excuse is gone now. Drew Pine being a backup / third string quarterback, that's gone now. You don't have that excuse anymore. So let's see how Tommy opens up the playbook. But yeah, if I had to give Marcus Freeman a grade, I'd give him a B. I think they overcame a lot of adversity, and they, ending with a Gator Bowl win over South Carolina was unthinkable following the loss to Marshall.
Yeah, that Marshall loss was pretty bad. Ohio State losing, not a big deal. It didn't even hurt much in the polls. The Marshall loss, like, ooh.
And nearly losing to Cal.
Yeah, and then recovering and actually they won 9 games here? 9?
Yeah, they finished with 9 wins, counting the bowl game. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, the sky's the limit for this team, I think, moving forward. One more thing I was going to tell you. So, we talk about Full House a lot on this pod when we talk. So my kids are now obsessed now. Every night when they fall asleep, that's what's on the TV now when they fall asleep. They're now. So 2 years ago we were talking about how like my kid loved Fuller House, the remake. Now it's the original now. Now he's heavy into the original show now, and now they have us doing it on. And my wife and I will plus with the TV on as well too. Put on an easy show to watch. Sometimes we'll watch Scrubs. Sometimes we'll watch whatever. But we want to put on a show that's more kid friendly in case they come in the room. Nothing's inappropriate on TV. So last month and a half has been Full House on TV. So I wake up 6:30 in the morning to check Jesse and the Rippers.
Hey, you're gonna get plenty of Elvis references in the early episodes as well. So
hell yeah!
That.
Hell yeah! First 2 seasons, absolutely. With the long hair. Oh yeah. But I gotta tell you, the reason I brought it up was this: in watching the show again for the first like this again for the first time in ages, like in order, that show actually ages well.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It isn't your typical like, this rich family. They were not rich. Let's start there. Like you would think that this well-off family. There's a lot of trauma in that family actually when you think about it. And as an adult, as someone like myself who can see this now at 42 years old and seeing like some reading between the lines now in comparison to when I watched when I was 7 years old, that show actually ages well for today. Like think about those 3 girls losing their mother at a young age, and then having to live with 2 other guys, the uncle and the best friend, and then navigating all that, and then the 2 friends, Jesse and Joey, not having stable lives, like going to job. It's actually quite more American and more middle class than people give credit for.
It's interesting.
It really is.
Yeah, never thought of that. No, that's.
No, seriously, like I watch the show, I'm like,
you're spot on.
No, like because as a kid, I look at it, so I'm like, I think all these kids are well off. They lost a mom, but they're well off. They got all the help in the world. Their dad is a talk show star, TV star with Aunt Becky, who's still hot, by the way. But I watch the show now and I look at it through the eyes of a parent and as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
That show has more trauma than you realize, and it actually ages well, and it's actually a good example to set against today's society too. That's family unity, despite it being an awkward, family with not having a mom and all that. It's actually ages well, actually.
Yeah, I never thought of it in terms like that. But yeah, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Since I've watched some of the original episodes. I mean, we could probably sit and go through episode after episode. I've seen them all a million times, but it's been a while since I've actually gone back and sat and watched some of the originals. So
blame my kid. I wasn't doing it. My kid did it, and I just jumped in with him. I only brought it up to you because like you're the only person I think I ever spoke to about that show on this in the 11 years I've done this podcast. I figured you would appreciate that.
Really?
Yeah.
Nobody likes Full House?
I mean, no one that I had the urge to talk about it with anybody else. You've mentioned it multiple times in the past, and we've just built a friendship on discussing a lot of these things, and then it's kind of happened that way. So, no one else is really. I brought up in the past, and no one really just jumped on that. Like, Full House, okay, cool, whatever.
Favorite TV,
one of those shows.
favorite TV character of all time. It's Jesse. He's my favorite
Is it
TV
really?
character of all time. Yeah.
Yours
it's
for
gotta be
real?
Jesse. Yeah, favorite TV character of all time. Yeah, it's got to be Jesse.
No, mine's George Jefferson.
Okay. Well,
I'm a Jefferson.
I get
guy.
it. Yeah, I get it. But I just don't know how someone. I don't know how you could not appreciate and like Jesse.
Oh, I love it. I know, dude. I think, especially as the years going on too, John Stamos, great, probably an excellent hangout even today.
Yeah.
He seems like a real cool dude. It's like a real good guy, like a real good guy. Like he really does. No, I would say on the show, definitely my favorite character.
Okay. Yeah.
On the show, I mean, although I did like Joey too, though. Joey was cool.
Joey's cool. Yeah.
But I'm Becky. You know, it's you know, she was you know, I always say there were 3 women that got me into white girls. It was Miss Elizabeth, Miss Elizabeth, of course, Watchmen's manager, Vanna White, and Lori Loughlin. So, and that's why I started with marry a white girl. So there we go.
Well,
Anyway, anyone to plug we get out here, buddy?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's always fun to sit and talk with you. I always enjoy it. It's always a lot of fun. We always plan 30, 45 minutes. We always go for an hour and a half. It's always a blast. So I just appreciate the invite. I appreciate the conversations. And, you know, a lot of the times the text message conversations go well beyond what we're talking here, right? So I appreciate the friendship as well.
Yeah. Yes. No, and we'll do more often. I mean, I hate this 2-year wait. It's stupid. We got to do more often than that. So
yeah, agreed. 100%.
Let's talk about it. Jordan, good job as always, man.
Hey, thank you for having me, EJ.